Now, some people have called these Lexus lanes because they say only the rich will use them, but that great scholar for the Reason Foundation, Drew Carey, went and interviewed people who are using the lanes in California, and they said, we have 2 children in daycare, and our daycare center charges us $5 a minute per child for being late to pick them up. So it's worth it to pay $9 or $10 to use these lanes. Now, if you have to build new highways, there are cheap ways of building elevated expressways that are rather aesthetically pleasing in the median strip of existing highways. This is an elevated expressway built in the 6-foot wide median strip of an existing freeway in Tampa that has 3 lanes going in town in the morning and 3 lanes coming out in the afternoon. So they like to say they built 6 lanes in a 6-foot wide right-of-way. It costs $7 million a lane mile. That's more than it costs to build a freeway at ground level, but if you have to buy it right away in an urban area, it's a lot cheaper doing it this way than buying that right away. In Virginia, they built one like this that has 4 lanes, 2 lanes going in each direction. When you'd use that configuration if you had a more balanced inbound and outbound traffic. Now, how are you going to pay for that? We've been using gas taxes, but they've been stealing all our gas taxes to build light rail everywhere. In Europe, they're using public-private partnerships. That means the government gives a franchise to a private road company. The road company builds the road and then tolls it for typically about 40 years. At the end of the 40 years, the road company turns the road over to the government. And the government might decide to lease it out, they might decide to toll it, they might decide to operate it for free, although it would probably be a good idea to keep the tolls on, partly to relieve congestion and partly to provide the money to maintain it. Here's a bridge in southern France. It's called the Millau Viaduct. It's an engineering marvel. It's 1.5 miles long. It's taller than the Eiffel Tower. It's the highest automobile bridge in the world. It cost more than $500 million to build, and it was built entirely with private financing, and they charge a €6 toll to cross it, and people gladly pay it because it saves hours over the time it would take to go down into that valley and come back out again. Now, some people think that we should use bus rapid transit instead of light rail, and that's okay if you're taking existing buses and running them at higher frequencies. Transit riders are sensitive to frequencies and speeds, not to whether you have steel wheels or rubber tires or futuristic vehicles like this one. This vehicle, which of course is here in Las Vegas, costs close to $1 million. An ordinary bus would have cost about a third of that. You didn't need to do that. All of the glitz you see on here is for the taxpayer. It was not for the transit rider. I think the problem with transit is it has too much money, not enough money. We need to demonopolize transit. We need to privatize transit. We need to have small box transit. We don't have situations of thousands of people going from point A to point B. We have situations of handfuls of people going from 100,000 different origins to 100,000 different destinations every hour of every day. And so we need small box transit and private transit. If we want to subsidize transit users because they're low income, they're disabled, or they aren't able to drive for one reason or another, give them transportation vouchers or transportation stamps that they can use on public transit or taxi cabs or Amtrak or United Airlines, whatever their choice is. But don't subsidize giant transit bureaucracies or construction companies that just want to make money building rail lines that hardly anybody will ever use. The Obama administration wants to build the world's finest 1930s era transportation network ever seen. Complete with 110-mile-an-hour trains and light rail and streetcars, all of which were available in the 1930s. I have a different vision. My vision is that we're going to have another transportation revolution, and that revolution is driverless cars. Now, it sounds like science fiction, but it's not. 13 years ago, in 1997, there was a successful demonstration of driverless cars on a freeway in California. They had 8 cars running at freeway speeds, 1 car length apart, without drivers. The cars were programmed to go at different speeds, and when one car approached another car, it would change lanes automatically and pass the other car and get back into the right lane. And it was a completely successful demonstration, and the Deputy Secretary of Transportation witnessed the demonstration, and he said, "That's great, I'm canceling the program." Now, he said it was because he didn't think Americans would want to let a computer drive their car for them. But his previous job had been as head of the nation's largest transit agency, and I just have to wonder if he realized that driverless cars was going to put transit out of business, and he didn't want to see that. Maybe I'm paranoid, but driverless cars are going to produce enormous benefits for us. First of all, they'll at least triple highway capacities. I told you that freeways can move about 2,000 vehicles per lane per hour, and with driverless cars, we'll be able to move that up to 6,000 to 8,000 vehicles per lane per hour. So it will greatly relieve congestion and greatly reduce the need to build any more roads. Driverless cars will provide near universal mobility. You won't need to have dial-a-rides, you won't need to have transit that costs 90 cents or $2 a passenger mile. For 25 cents a passenger mile, anybody who can sit in a car and tell the car by typing or talking or whatever, "Take me somewhere," will be able to use a driverless car. Driverless cars will increase average travel speeds, which will be good for the economy because there will be less congestion and the computers will be able to drive faster safely. They will save tens of thousands of lives a year. 37,000 people died in traffic accidents last year. Most of that will be eliminated by driverless cars. And finally, once most of the cars on the road are driverless, we'll be able to dispense with a lot of the weight that cars have today because of safety reasons, and so we'll be able to save a lot of energy. Now, since the Department of Transportation ceased funding the driverless research, the main government money in the United States has come from the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, which in 2005 issued a challenge to anybody to build a driverless car that could go in a desert environment. Now, they're trying to have driverless vehicles for warfare, like we have pilotless airplanes for warfare. But the winner of the DARPA challenge in 2005 was this vehicle. It's called Stanley because it was designed by Stanford University in cooperation with Volkswagen, and it won a $2 million prize. In 2007, they had a different challenge. They created an urban-like setting on a former military base with stop signs and stoplights and pedestrians and other vehicles and other signs, and vehicles had to negotiate a course in that setting, park in certain areas and so on, and follow all laws and not have any accidents, and the one that did it the fastest earned a $2 million prize. In that challenge, the Volkswagen Stanford entry, called Stanley Jr., came in second and won a $1 million prize. The first prize was won by the Carnegie Mellon entry, which was co-sponsored by General Motors. And at that demonstration, the vice president of General Motors said, Americans will be able to buy driverless cars by 2018. And the only obstacles were institutional and bureaucratic, not technological.